The coin you are describing is the United States of America Vermont State Quarter, issued in 2001 from the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P Mint mark, and it is part of the historic 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 to 2008. Many people see the dates 1791 to 2001 on the reverse and sometimes misread the first number as "until" or believe the coin is from the 1700s, but in fact 1791 is the year Vermont became the 14th state, and 2001 is the coin's year of issue. The coin still carries the traditional elements found on modern U.S. quarters. United States of America at the top of the reverse, quarter dollar at the bottom. In God We Trust, on the obverse beside Washington's portrait, Liberty, and E Pluribus Unum, the national motto meaning, out of many, one. On the front, the obverse shows the familiar bust of George Washington, whose portrait was originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932. It was slightly modified for the State Quarters series, but retains its classic style. The reverse design is what makes the Vermont Quarter special. It features a large maple tree with sap buckets hanging from the taps, a smaller sugar house in the background, and the bold caption "Freedom and Unity," which is Vermont's official state motto. This design was chosen to represent one of Vermont's most iconic traditions, maple sugaring, the early spring practice of collecting sap from sugar maple trees and boiling it into maple syrup, a product deeply tied to Vermont's identity, rural heritage, and economy. The mountains and forest imagery highlight the state's natural beauty and long-standing connection to the land. Vermont State Quarter was the fourth coin released in 2001 and the 14th overall in the program, honoring the order in which each state entered the Union. The Philadelphia Mint produced around 423 million of these quarters, making it a common circulation coin. It is struck from the standard clad composition used for modern quarters, an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, creating the familiar silver-colored surface. Because of its large mintage, most 2001 P Vermont quarters found in normal circulation are worth only face value, though coins in uncirculated condition may be worth a little more to collectors, and proof versions, especially silver proofs from the San Francisco Mint, are worth more, but those will have an S Mint mark, not a P. Some people search for errors or varieties that can increase value, such as off-center strikes, double die errors, die cracks, or incorrect planchets, but confirmed high-value errors for this specific design are relatively uncommon. Still, collectors occasionally find minor die breaks or die chips that bring slightly higher prices. The coin holds significance beyond monetary value because the State Quarters program itself was one of the most successful numismatic projects in U.S. history, sparking interest in coin collecting for millions of people. The Vermont design proudly reflects the state's motto, freedom and unity, representing the balance between individual independence and community cooperation. Principles that guided Vermont from its frontier beginnings through its admission as a state in 1791. In summary, the 2001 P Vermont State Quarter is a modern commemorative circulation coin honoring Vermont's heritage of maple sugaring and mountain landscapes, carrying the nation's mottos and Washington's portrait. Struck in large quantities from copper-nickel-clad metal, and while normally worth just 25 cents, it remains a well-loved piece of the State Quarters series and a meaningful artifact of early 21st century American coinage history. Next top. The coin you are referring to is the United States of America Wyoming State Quarter, released in 2007 and minted at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P Mint mark, part of the massive and extremely popular 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 through 2008. Many people mistakenly read the date combination on state quarters as 1790. But in truth, the Wyoming State Quarter marks 1890 as the year Wyoming entered the Union as the 44th state, and 2007 as the year the coin was issued. On the obverse, the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan for the 1932 Washington Quarter and later modified for the State Quarters series. Around Washington's profile are the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 2007 along with the mint mark P, which identifies the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse design, simple but powerful, displays a silhouetted bucking horse with its cowboy rider, representing Wyoming's unique identity as the cowboy state and its enduring ranching and rodeo heritage. This imagery is also used on Wyoming license plates and state symbolism, making it one of the most recognizable state emblems in the United States. Above the horse appears the word Wyoming, with 1890 under it to indicate the year Wyoming became a state, and below the image is Wyoming's official motto, the Equality State, which commemorates Wyoming's historic role as the first U.S. territory and later the first state to grant women the right to vote, beginning in 1869. More than 50 years before the 19th Amendment granted nationwide women's suffrage in 1920. Under the motto is the standard inscription, E pluribus unum, the Latin phrase meaning, out of many, one, which appears on every state quarter to acknowledge the unity of the states within the nation. The coin's composition is the same as other modern circulating U.S. quarters, a copper core layered with a copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper, 25% nickel, producing the silver-colored appearance familiar to modern American pocket change. In terms of production, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 320 million Wyoming quarters, making the 2007 P version widely available, common in circulation, and usually valued at 25 cents unless in uncirculated or high-grade collector condition. As with all state quarters, special collector versions exist, including proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, both clad proofs and silver proofs, which carry different value tiers. However, only Philadelphia coins have the P Mint mark. While the design itself is very simple, collectors pay extra attention to the Wyoming quarter because simplicity makes certain mint errors more noticeable. Known error types include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and strike-through errors, though truly rare major errors are not common, and most bring modest premiums. The Wyoming State Quarter was the 44th coin released in the 50 State Quarter series, honoring Wyoming's position as the 44th state to join the Union, and the simplicity of the horse and rider design was intentionally chosen to reflect the state's rugged, open landscapes and its cultural legacy tied to ranching, frontier history, and the American West. While its melt value is only a fraction of a dollar due to its base metal composition, the coin carries symbolic significance and historical value because the State Quarters program inspired millions of Americans to begin coin collecting, turning everyday spare change into a form of historical and educational engagement. The Wyoming Quarter stands as a tribute to the state's pioneering values, especially its proud identity as the Equality State, honoring its groundbreaking stance on women's rights. Overall, the 2007 Wyoming State Quarter is a modern circulating coin that blends national symbols like Washington's portrait and the motto, E pluribus unum, with distinctly Wyoming themes, struck in large numbers, typically worth face value, but rich in heritage tied to the history of suffrage, the American frontier, and the culture of the western United States. Next top. The United States of America Oklahoma State Quarter, issued in 2008 with the P Mint mark of the Philadelphia Mint, is one of the 50 circulating commemorative quarters released as part of the highly successful 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 to 2008. Though many casual collectors refer to it as a 1907 to 2008 quarter, that description actually reflects the statehood year of Oklahoma, 1907, combined with the year of issue, 2008, not the year the coin itself was struck. This pairing is a deliberate design choice used on most state quarters to honor each state's entrance into the Union. Like all state quarters, the Oklahoma coin carries the standard obverse portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932 and later modified slightly for the State Quarter series. This obverse side includes the inscriptions United States of America, quarter dollar, Liberty, In God We Trust, and the mint mark, P, which identifies the Philadelphia Mint as its production site. The coin's reverse, the side that celebrates Oklahoma itself, is where the design becomes uniquely symbolic and deeply meaningful. The reverse design, selected after a statewide competition that attracted multiple artistic submissions, features the scissor-tailed flycatcher, the official state bird of Oklahoma, soaring gracefully with its long, split tail feathers extended behind it in mid-flight. Surrounding the bird are wild gaillardia flowers, commonly known as Indian blanket flowers, which are the state wildflower. The composition is both elegant and dynamic, intended to reflect the natural beauty, open skies, and sweeping landscapes of the Oklahoma prairie. Below the central image appears the word Oklahoma, the statehood date, 1907, and the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, the long-standing phrase on American coinage meaning, out of many one. The coin was engraved by Phoebe Hemphill, a sculptor-engraver at the U.S. Mint, whose work brought intricate detail to the bird and flowers, ensuring that even on a small planchet the image conveys movement and life. Like all modern U.S. quarters, the Oklahoma State Quarter is composed of a clad metal structure with an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving it both durability for circulation and the familiar silver-gray color of modern American coinage. The coin's diameter is 24.26 millimeters and its weight is 5.67 grams, consistent across all quarters of this era. In 2008, tens of millions of these coins were struck for general circulation, making them widely available, although uncirculated or full lustrous examples, what some people call untilled or untilled, meaning uncirculated or not worn, are more desirable to collectors. The Oklahoma Quarter was one of the final 5 coins released under the original 50 state quarters program, which concluded in late 2008 after nearly a decade of extraordinary public engagement. The series revitalized interest in numismatics across the United States, encouraged millions of Americans to begin coin collections, and played an important role in teaching history, civics, geography, and state culture to younger generations. The Oklahoma design, in particular, is remembered for its graceful artistic composition and its faithful representation of symbols deeply tied to local identity. While the coin has a face value of 25 cents, its value to collectors can vary depending on condition, rarity of strike quality, and overall eye appeal. A typical circulated 2008 Oklahoma quarter is worth only its face value, but uncirculated pieces, especially those with bright mint luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, may be worth more to collectors, sometimes modestly more, sometimes several dollars when part of an uncirculated set or certified at a high grade. The resonance of the Oklahoma State Quarter extends beyond simple monetary value. The coin encapsulates over a century of Oklahoma history, tracing from its statehood in 1907, when it transformed from Indian Territory and settled lands into the 46th state, to the modern era when its heritage is celebrated through national circulation coinage. It symbolizes both the tangible and intangible, the natural environment, the wildlife that thrives across its plains, the spirit of freedom reflected in the flight of the scissor-tailed flycatcher, and the enduring motto, E pluribus unum, which binds all states into a single national identity. For many people who lived in Oklahoma, passed through it, or trace their ancestry to the region, the quarter serves as a small next stop. The United States of America South Carolina State Quarter, issued in 2000 and minted at the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P mint mark, is part of the landmark 50 State Quarters program, a series that ran from 1999 to 2008 and brought U.S. coin collecting into the daily lives of millions of Americans while celebrating the history, culture, and symbols of each state. On the obverse, the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan in 1932 and slightly modified for the State Quarter series, along with inscriptions reading, United States of America, $quarter, Liberty, in God we trust, and, of course, the mint mark, P. The obverse remains a constant across the series, emphasizing the national identity and honoring the first president while giving continuity to the circulation coinage. The reverse of the South Carolina quarter, however, is entirely unique and specifically symbolic of the state's history and identity. South Carolina, the 8th state admitted to the Union in 1788, is historically referred to as the Palmetto State, a nickname derived from the state tree, the Sabine palmetto, which famously played a defensive role during the Revolutionary War when palmetto logs absorbed British cannon fire during the attack on Fort Moultrie in 1776. Reflecting this heritage, The reverse design, sculpted by Troy A. Kelly, prominently features a Carolina palmetto tree at the center, with a stylized depiction of the state flower, the yellow jessamine, subtly incorporated to enhance the artistic and botanical symbolism. Surrounding the central imagery are the inscriptions South Carolina, 1788, and the traditional U.S. motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, which underscores the unity of the nation while acknowledging South Carolina's distinct contribution to the Union. The combination of flora and symbolic tree imagery was carefully chosen to reflect both the state's natural beauty and its historical significance, highlighting the intertwining of identity, memory, and geography in American civic life. Like all quarters minted from 1999 onward, the South Carolina quarter is composed of a clad structure with 75% copper and 25% nickel on the exterior and a pure copper core, giving it durability for circulation while retaining the familiar silvery gray appearance. It measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter and weighs 5.67 grams, making it consistent with other quarters in both the state quarters program and standard U.S. currency specifications. The coin was produced in massive quantities for circulation, ensuring that most Americans received it in daily transactions, yet uncirculated examples, sometimes described as intilled for coins that are free from wear and retain their original mint luster, are particularly prized by collectors. These coins capture the brilliance of the original strike, with crisp details on the palmetto fronds and jessamine flower petals, preserving the integrity of the design intended by the U.S. mint engravers. The South Carolina quarter holds additional cultural and educational significance because it visually communicates the state's history to millions of people who might otherwise have limited exposure to state-specific heritage. For example, the palmetto tree and state flower act as subtle reminders of South Carolina's Revolutionary War history and natural environment, while the inscriptions reinforce the state's constitutional legacy as one of the earliest members of the Union. Collectors often note the artistic balance of the reverse, with the vertical palmetto contrasting the flowing curves of the jessamine and the inscriptions around the perimeter, creating a dynamic yet harmonious composition suitable for a small coin surface. From a numismatic perspective, the 2000p South Carolina quarter is widely available, but condition plays a key role in its collectible value. Circulated coins typically hold face value, 25 cents, yet uncirculated or high-grade examples may be valued at a modest premium in coin shops or online auctions. Grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, assess the coin's luster, strike sharpness, and surface quality, with top-tier coins potentially commanding more interest from serious collectors. Beyond mere financial considerations, however, the coin serves as a tangible artifact of civic memory, representing South Carolina's blend of history, natural beauty, and identity within the broader narrative of the United States. Its release on June 26, 2000, made it the third quarter released in the 50-state quarters program, following the